Tonight on Business Live, inflation falls marginally to 53.6% in January this year, the first decline in 19 months.
We recorded 54.1% for December 2022, and in January we are recording 53.6%. So what is accounting for the marginal drop of 0.5 percentage points between December 2022 and January 2023?
Meanwhile, economist Courage Buti says despite the marginal drop in inflation, the rate has not peaked yet as there are re-emergencies of price pressures.
This kind of distrust, public distrust for policies and programs, especially coming from the Treasury, who control our finances and manage economic policy, is not good. You need to carry people along to make policy successful.
And ratings agency Fitch downgrades Ghana's credit worthiness to further junk status due to recent defaults in bonds payment and the domestic debt exchange program. And later on in the bulletin, even with the best ideas, startups and SMEs need guidance to succeed. The Clay Group is offering that support to small businesses. The Joy Business Fund engages the founder, Kukua Adams, on TV's episode.
It's a typical day at Clay, and this morning I'll be meeting Sheila of Adepa Pieces, where we're going to go over her business and then advise on how we can restructure her business.
This is Business Live with me, Beverly Broohm. Details after this break. Please stay with us. We settle for the details now. Inflation fell marginally to 53.6% in January 2023 from 54.1% recorded in December 2022. Latest data from the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed. Now, according to the figures, the rise in food prices pushed the consumer price index up. However, transport inflation fell for the first time in 19 months due to the reduction in fuel prices during the period. Here's government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina-Anim.
Inflation has been on the upward trajectory for almost 2 years in Ghana until January 2023. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, the reduction in petroleum prices and some stability in the foreign exchange rate during the U-type period contributed to this reduction. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina-Anim.
We recorded 54.1% for December 2022, and in January we are recording 53.6%. So what is accounting for the marginal drop of 0.5 percentage points between December 2022 and January 2023? A careful scrutiny at the disaggregation gives us some inkling in terms of what is leading to that. We'll recall that from a food perspective, we saw an increase from 59.7% to 61.0%. And from a non-food perspective, we saw a decline of about 2 percentage points on a year-on-year basis between December 2022 and January 2023. So the first pointer is in terms of what is driving the marginal dip is more from a non-food perspective rather than a food perspective, because from a food perspective, as I indicated, there was a marginal increase of 1.3 percentage points, whereas from a non-food perspective, we saw a 2.0 percentage point drop.
For the regions, the Eastern region recorded the highest overall inflation as well as food inflation, whilst the Volta region recorded the least rate of inflation for the month of January.
We identified the Eastern region recording the highest food inflation of 79.8% and Greater Accra region recording the highest non-food inflation of 63.2%. Given the rate of inflation for food and non-food inflation, the region that recorded the overall highest inflation was the Eastern region with an inflation rate of 66.2%, followed by Greater Accra 65.0%. Comparing the region with the highest rate of inflation, Eastern region, and the region with the least rate of inflation, Volta region, which recorded a rate of 34.7%, we see about twice the percentage point difference between these two regions, with Eastern region recording 66.2% and Volta region 34.7%.
Meanwhile, imported items continue to record high inflation as against locally produced items.
Meanwhile, research lead with GCB Capital, Courage Buti, says despite the marginal drop in inflation, the rate has not peaked yet because there are some re-emergencies of price pressures like utilities review and increase in eggs pump prices.
I do not think the 80% target was set by the IMF. We were supposed to do debt restructuring, and then we chose to start with a domestic debt restructuring. And I've always maintained that we do not have to get the 80% to go to the board. And everything happening now suggests that if we were holding out for that 80% and assuming the IMF was aware of the 130 billion figure and working 80% of that, then obviously what we have gotten now would have worked up to just about 65%, which would mean that we could not engage the board for progress of the ECF program really. So I do think that we needed to show some sign that we are burden sharing as locals, and then we can extend same to foreigners in terms of external debt restructuring. And to that extent, for me, so the fact that we have gotten about 82 billion people swapping their bonds for new ones is enough success, and we could build on that to go forward. But the credibility questions are very valid, and the way government went about handling it, I don't think was the best, and that is why these questions will linger on. It is in order if they are minded to give more clarity, because this kind of distrust, public distrust for policies and programs, especially coming from the Treasury, who control our finances and manage economic policy, is not good. You need to carry people along to make policy successful. And so, to the extent there is always distrust about the credibility of the figures and all of that, it's not good for even policy formulation. And that is why I think it would be proper if we can get maybe better breakdown of what classes of people were invested. Except that I know there are individual contractors who were paid monies using bonds. And if they are being excluded this time round, I think it's actually a fair argument. But my question is, why did it become an afterthought? Why is it coming very late in the day? Why wasn't it communicated at any point of the offer? That is where the issues are for me.
Now, international ratings agency Fitch Ratings has downgraded Ghana's creditworthiness to further junk status. In its latest report on Ghana, it said, and I quote, Fitch Ratings downgraded Ghana's long-term local currency issuer default rating to restricted default from C. It attributed the downgrade to the decision by government to embark on the debt exchange program and the recent default on local bonds that matured on February 6, 2023, and another which is due for payment this week. Fitch also affirmed Ghana's long-term foreign currency at C, saying Fitch typically does not assign rating outlooks to sovereigns with a rating of CCC plus or below. Now, over 2,000 women have benefited from the Power to the Fishes project executed by Crete Development Organization. The project, which was funded by the European Union, is aimed at improving the economic conditions of fishers, particularly fishmongers in some coastal areas in the western and central regions. The following report has more.
Sponsored by the European Union, the Power to the Fishes project was developed to improve the skills of women in fishing business in areas such as business management, hygienic fish handling, processing of fish, as well as highlight appropriate fishing practices. Derek Adabi is manager for the Power to the Fishes project.
The Power to the Fishes project, which was funded by the European Union, is a fisheries management intervention that seeks to enhance the socio-economic livelihoods of coastal communities in Ghana. Under this project, we were able to engage in a multi-party advocacy to see to the end of illegal transshipment of fish bycatch. We've also facilitated technology adoption with regards to the Ahonto oven. We also built capacities on fish handling, business practices, and also environmental protection. And in addition to that, we've facilitated social protection coverage.
On her part, the head and team leader, Infrastructure and Sustainable Development at the European Union, Paulina Rosiska, said the aim of the EU is to encourage proper and legal fishing practices in Ghana.
With this project, EU is committed to fight the illegal fishing, and also I would like to commend the Ministry for Fisheries and Aquaculture for its recent directive to scrap possibility of dumping the bycatch and illegal transshipment, which is done now only limited only to 2 ports now under surveillance of the Fisheries Commission.
Talking about some areas that may be looked at in the future, the director in charge of West Africa, Serath Development Organization, Pa Kofi Osei Owusu, said his organization may go into other coastal areas to expand the project if it secures the required funding.
The Ghana National Petroleum Corporation is in the central region to court the support of interest groups in curbing an imminent danger as a result of fishing activities around the Salt Pond oil fields decommissioning area. Some fishermen are defying safety precautions and directives from the Navy and the GNPC to stay away from fishing in the 500 meters exclusive zone in the project area. Prince Apia has more in this report.
These fishermen are seen fishing within the 500-meter exclusive zone around the Salt Pond oil fields decommissioning area. These incursions are causing interference in the execution of the project. The Sustainability and Stakeholder Relations Division of GMPC has been engaging chief fishermen, political heads and opinion leaders in the area to curb the danger of fishing activities around the project. Patience Lati is Deputy Manager, Social Performance and Local Content.
Machines are working in the area, and it is unsafe for the fishermen, numbering about 10 in a canoe, to ply under the machines. Should any metal fall off into the canoe, the boat is likely to capsize and the people likely to perish.
Ms. Lati also noted that a gas component of the oil explored may have long-term effect on the health of the fishermen who invade the area.
You're still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel with me, Beverly Broohm. Still to come, even with the best ideas, startups and SMEs need guidance to succeed. The Clear Group is offering that support to small businesses. The Joy Business Van engages founder Kukwa Adams. This evening. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broohm. Enjoy the rest of our programs.